Hello from Weevil Market.
Good morning.
Good morning. Everybody's enjoying breakfast burritos and biscuits and gravy and everything else.
Carrots.
Biscuits and tortillas.
One of the better meals on trail.
I had a sandwich.
Good morning, everybody. It is day 66 on the PCT. Standing out here in front of the Weevil Market. Gonna give you a short tour. Okay, now that I have my mask on, I'm gonna go inside the store. And you did hear me right. I said day 66. Yesterday was day 65, but for the first time on a trail, I did not record any video. It was a zero here at Weevil, and we spent most of the day just resting, repairing gear, eating too much food, and basically enjoying ourselves, but nothing that was particularly worthy of videoing. So I took the day off. So let's go inside the store. I'm gonna just kind of walk you through and see what they have here. It's just a nice little country store. They've got there's ice cream here, a whole bunch of snacks, you know, chips and such. Come around the corner, first aid type stuff that hikers may need. And then you can get a food resupply here. Pretty good supply of basic stuff that hikers may want. You can see all the mashed potatoes down here and tuna packets. You know, they know the stuff that hikers want. And of course, plenty of candy. More chips over here, more candy. And then a very large wall, cold drinks. But I have to say the highlight of the whole Weevil Market is over here in the corner. This is the little restaurant portion, and they have some really good food for just a small little roadside store. Here's a glance at their menu. You can see the grill is actually right back behind the cashier there, and there's the cooking cashier. But we've consumed a lot of calories since we've been here. Need to get back on the trail and burn some of that off. Exiting the store to the right, kind of go around into this little fenced enclosure area, and you can see this is where all the hikers hang out. And we got quite a few. Hey, there's the picnic table. Everybody just finished eating breakfast, and we've got 1, 2, 3 tents there. Our tent on the other side of Sacagawea, and a tent way over here in the corner where Dustin and Salt are camped out. A few more picnic tables here that nobody's using because it's too hot to sit in the sun right now. And then we have this little guy who's been entertaining everybody. Come out and say hi, Mr. Gopher. Endlessly entertaining. I'll come around the corner, and then the last stop over here we have a restroom facility. The men's room unfortunately has been locked the whole time, so we've been having to share the women's room, which is in there. They have you know, regular sink, toilet stalls, and 2 shower stalls. One of the shower stalls is out of action, but not a big deal. We're all using the same one. Anyway, this has been home for us since we walked in here late afternoon, day before yesterday. Okay, it's 5:30 in the afternoon, and everybody's getting loaded up, ready to head back out for a long hike tonight. I forgot to put the damn windsock on. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey, you ready to go hiking?
Yeah.
She's excited. Yeah. So, because the rest of the gang is going to go out with us. Yep. Yeah, everybody decided it's too hot to hike in the daytime, so we're going to start at Hiker Town as soon as we can get down there. It's about a 10-minute drive. And then we have a 17-mile hike during the night to get to the next water source. So it's going to be a long night. I'm sure we'll be tired, but hopefully there'll be something exciting that'll happen. Maybe some cool rattlesnakes or other night creatures that we can highlight. Okay, we're getting dropped off back here on the road. Everybody's got to get their stuff back together again. Collect all these packs, which weigh about 20 pounds more than when we actually got here. So, actually, I think I weigh about 10 pounds more than when I got here. Yeah, here you go. I'm walking around carrying that. Okay, I'm walking up. This is like the gate to Hiker Town. Not 100% sure how you get in. Oh, okay. Here we go. I'll walk around here. I don't see any other people hanging around here right now. Here's a sign talking about what they offer here. This was a post office. Probably not a real post office, but that's just what it says. Taking some pictures. Let's see. And there's a hotel next to the sheriff. Looks like Elvira's in the window of the sheriff's office. Another building. Feed and store. Saloon. Down that way. I assume the people that live here. I might walk over and say hi. But cool, okay. So, here in Hiker Town, ran into a few other hikers that are laying over here. Why don't you guys go ahead and tell YouTube who you guys are. Give me your trail names. And tell me where you're from.
Sure. I'm Banquet. I'm from Seattle.
Okay.
I'm Bluetooth. I'm also from Seattle, Washington. Go 12.
Yeah.
Butterscotch from Red Bluff, California.
Very good, man. The LA Aqueduct is one of the most unique sections of the PCT. This 17-mile section of the trail starts off following the open aqueduct, which then transitions into an enclosed pipe and finally into an underground river covered by a thick cement slab. Because the LA Aqueduct can see some of the highest temperatures of anywhere along the PCT, particularly in late May and early June, many hikers choose to hike this section of the trail at night. Believe it or not, the pipeline is actually part of the Pacific Crest Trail, and everyone should walk at least a little bit of the pipeline as opposed to taking the dirt road which parallels it. Way to pose for the shot. Oh, yeah, that looks safe. I'm sure that's an OSHA approved way to get around that. See your live flash before your. Okay, I guess you can see the time there is 1:40 a.m. and we're taking a quick break right now. A drink of water, readjusting some stuff. But we are 14 miles in, 14 miles out of the 17 and a half that we wanted to make tonight. So I think we're gonna make it with a little over, maybe another hour to an hour and a half. We can probably make it. We'll be pretty tired, but at least we won't have to worry about hiking this section tomorrow in the heat of the day. The other 4 hikers we're with, they're ahead of us maybe a quarter of a mile. We had to take a break here for an unmentionable reason, but so they pressed on without us, but we'll catch up with them in a couple of minutes. Anyway, looking forward to crawling into my tent tonight, because after 17 miles of hiking, even at night, it's kicked both of our butts. Well, we're finally starting to get close to our destination for this evening. The LA Aqueduct and the road leading on up into the hills towards Tehachapi oftentimes is the hottest part of the entire Pacific Crest Trail. Temperatures in the daytime can, especially this time of the year, late May, early June, can easily top 100 degrees, and there is virtually no shade out here, and it's a 17-mile stretch with no water except what you carry with you. So the decision to hike at night, although we're really exhausted now, it's about 2:30 in the morning, is going to be a good decision. Okay, by the time the afternoon heat starts building up, we should be well on our way towards gaining elevation in the Tehachapi Mountains. I think we have an elevation gain of 3,000 feet tomorrow, so definitely cooler temperatures up at that altitude. So this may actually end up being one of our very last night hikes of the whole PCT, if we're lucky. So anyway, we're not done yet. Let's do a time check. Yeah, that's right. The time is 3:43 a.m. So the tent is up, and despite hurricane winds outside, I'll show you in the morning. We're actually in the middle of a wind farm. Giant wind turbines everywhere. Boy, tired, can't form a coherent thought. 17 and a half miles in, well, let's see, we left at 6:45, and we got here about 3:15 actually, because it took us about 20 minutes to set up our tent in the high winds. But we're exhausted, and the bad news is the sun's going to come up in about 3.5 hours, and not long after that the tent will probably start heating up and make it impossible to sleep. But we'll worry about that later. For now, I'm signing off, and we're going to bed. Good night. Good morning, everyone. Day 67 on the PCT is officially underway. It's 10:30 right now, so we've been camped in this spot for a little over 6 hours, of which probably only 4 of that was sleep. So we're gonna have to figure out how to make up for our sleep later on today somehow. We camped in the middle of a windmill farm, and it's actually windy. Hopefully you can hear me without the dead cat plugged in. I'm just getting ready to make some breakfast. Goldilocks is still sleeping, although maybe she's woken up now that she's hearing me talk. Flip the camera around and show you what it looks like out here. You can see right next to our tent, got a giant windmill. A few more over that way, a giant bush here, which is giving us barely some shade from the sun. And a whole bunch of windmills out that way. The other 4 hikers we were with are actually camped down in the bottom of this wash here, about 200 yards up. And they're packing up to get started soon, so we'll probably be behind them, an hour or so. Anyway, that's this morning. So right now I'm just sitting down to make myself my usual breakfast. I'm kind of a creature of habit. I don't have a lot of variety in the things I eat, particularly when it comes to my breakfast and my lunch. So I can show you my breakfast this morning. Just in this bowl, I've got 4 packages of Quaker Oats, maple and brown sugar instant oatmeal. Pour it in there with an entire packet of sunflower seeds. Gives it some good, adds a high fat content to it to give me energy while I'm hiking on the trail. And then I'm just gonna add water, let it set a couple of minutes, and that'll be breakfast. And it'll keep me going for a couple of hours. And for those of you who might be curious, 1 package of oatmeal, it doesn't have a calorie or a ingredients list on it. I would guess 1 package of this is probably between 100 and 150 calories. So by eating 4 packets altogether, I'm eating somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 600 calories, I would guess, approximately. And then adding the sunflower seeds to it, it says there's 340 calories per bag. So I'm eating somewhere between probably 700 and 900 calories just in this little bowl of oatmeal and sunflower nuts. And while I wouldn't recommend that for a meal back home, that's a hell of a lot. That's probably half the number of calories the average person wants to eat in one day. Out here on the trail, especially someone as big as me, I bet I'm burning somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day, maybe even more. So I need this just to keep my energy up. About 11:30 right now, and relocating just a couple hundred yards down this road to where Kronk and Sacagawea are currently camped out. So their campsite had currently been right down there, and this is a wash you're looking down into. Had some shelter from the wind, and they've moved it now, and they're under that bridge underpass. Much more shade, and the shade makes a huge difference out here in the sun. So our plan is to get under the bridge there where it's nice and shaded and cool, throw out our mats, and hopefully try to catch at least a couple more hours of sleep before we start hiking again. Still part of the Aqueduct road system. This actually maintains the wind farm, obviously not the Aqueduct, but you can see coming up there's a PCT sign right there beside the road showing this is part of the PCT, and it continues on out through the wind farm in that direction up into those hills. Not 100% sure where it goes up in those hills. We're looking pretty much straight north, which is the direction of Tehachapi, 23 miles away, or yeah, 23 miles away. So We could conceivably be there as late as tomorrow afternoon, but we'll have to see how many miles we can put in today. Ready to go, Goldilocks? Ready as you're ever going to be. Okay, lead on. It is just short of 6 p.m. and we're back on the road, trying to knock out almost 7 miles this evening to another campsite that has water. That's the one that Kronk and Sacagawea left for about 2 hours ago. Despite our best efforts to try and get some sleep today, really didn't amount to much more than just light occasional dozing, so we're both still pretty zombied out. So thank God it's a short hike. Okay, this we've been walking for 5 minutes and we've already seen this.
Inconceivable!
Okay, I don't know what the hell that's about. Walking through a Joshua tree forest. Cool looking trees, but super weird too. Literally looks like something that Dr. Seuss would have invented. I would like to make an unscientific observation, but one that nevertheless is interesting to me, and maybe some of you would like to make a comment on. But when I was a very young kid, I lived with my dad up until I was, I don't know, 11, 12 years old. And you know, parents divorced, that kind of thing. But we used to come out to this part of the country, the Mojave Desert, all the time. And as a young kid, I remember the place was just covered with all kinds of exotic lizards and bunches of cool snakes. We'd come out here and poke around, and it seemed like we'd find dozens of them, all different species, all different sizes. I mean, it was awesome. It was magical. I loved it as a kid. My dad was an amateur herpetologist and raised and bred various snakes and lizards for pretty much my whole life, which is what kind of sparked my interest in it as well. So when I knew I was going to be hiking through this part of the country on the PCT, I was really excited to kind of relive those exciting reptile adventures. I thought I'd be going through some really wild country where there'd be just, you know, or where I'd see lots of it. But amazingly, I've seen very, very, very few. I mean, gosh, we're 550 miles in the trail now, and I've seen, I think, 5 rattlesnakes. And I've seen quite a few lizards, but just common fence lizards and things. Nothing of the really super cool variety, like chuckawallas and desert iguanas and things. So anyway, it's a little, I'm a little disappointed, and I don't know what to account for it. So maybe some of you guys, gals, who live in this area and maybe know something about wildlife and reptiles can shed some light on it for me. In the meantime, I still hold out hope of coming across some cool stuff while we're still in the desert. We're walking through the windmill farm right now, and I realized that when you're looking at these things, you know, when they're way off at a distance, you know, they look pretty big. But it's only when you get right up next to them, you realize these things are more than just big. They are freaking huge. I mean, just look at Goldilocks standing there in front of this giant pylon that supports this wind turbine. It's I don't know how many, that's got to be 12 feet in diameter probably. You know, you look at them out there in the distance and you're like, oh yeah, they're pretty big, but you don't realize they're this big. Wow. So quite the engineering marvel. I was just walking along here thinking about the fact that we're walking through the middle of the Mojave Desert right now, and suddenly it occurred to me that unlike the desert that we were walking through farther south, the Sonoran Desert didn't necessarily look like what I envisioned in my mind a desert would look like. It was a lot greener, more lush, but holy mackerel, there were cactuses everywhere. Every plant in the Sonoran Desert had spines and thorns, and God, it was a wicked place to try and walk through. Now I'm looking here at the Mojave Desert, and as you can see in the lens behind me, it's kind of very flat, arid looking, those exotic Joshua trees. The Mojave Desert, to me, looks more like what the typical desert, well, what most people think of as a typical desert. But I just realized, I don't think I've seen a cactus for miles. I mean, not even a little beaver tail or a prickly pear or any of the other myriad of cactus-like bushes and shrubs that were so plentiful down south. I mean, it's just regular, well, I'm sorry, I don't know the names of these plants here. Again, my weakness in botany, but I can tell you, none of them have thorns on them. So it just struck me as something that was, I don't know, a surprise or unusual. So another opportunity for some of the experts out there to educate me on why the Mojave Desert doesn't seem to have any cactus. Well, the sun set about 20 minutes ago, and probably another 20 minutes before we have to switch over to headlamps. But right now we're still about 3 miles away from tonight's camp. We'll be coming in there after dark, but this may be the last video for tonight, unless I come across something cool in the dark. A rather uneventful day. Sorry about that. They all can't be, super exciting events out on the Pacific Crest Trail, and maybe that's one of the lessons about the trail is that, yeah, there are some days that are really cool and you see lots of cool stuff, do exciting things, but unfortunately there are some days that are just all you do is walk all day long and nothing really exciting happens. So that's all part of the journey, but we're still enjoying it. Good days and bad, exciting days and boring. So that's about it. Now that I think about it, when I get in my tent tonight, I may make a short video kind of telling you about forecast for the next several days, because there will be some changes. We are going to be getting off trail for a few days. I'll tell you about that and what's going on with that. And so stay tuned. It's been quite a while since we've come across a snake at nighttime, but here we have another little night snake, and this is actually quite a bit smaller than the other ones we saw. The adults only get 15-20 inches long at the most, but this one that Goldilocks is holding, I don't think it's more than about 5 inches long. So definitely whoa, pretty active little guy. You get in close, you can see that brown collar around its neck that identifies it as a night snake, as opposed to a baby gopher snake or something like that it looks an awful lot alike. And so that's a neat find for tonight.